Friday morning, MikeMullen.net. Mike Mullen on the road to Michigan International Speedway. See what Denny Hamlin can do this time. I'll tell you what he won't be doing today, Twittering. That $50,000 fine caught his attention. All those drivers doing all that Twittering, guess we won't be getting their inner thoughts anymore. I think that's bad for the sport, but that's what NASCAR wants. No negativity. All right, we'll see how that plays out. To me, secret fines are negativity themselves. That's a whole other story we've been talking about. The story today is going to be the 2011 NASCAR Sprint Cup schedule. What in the world are we going to do in 2011? We've been playing around with that, and we think that NASCAR's about ready to release that new schedule. They've been releasing bits and pieces. They're going to cut the race in Atlanta, cut the race in Los Angeles, had a race in Kansas, had a race in Kentucky. All that stuff might be good, but it might not be good. We started yesterday with a clean sheet of paper, thinking that, let's see if we can do better. Not that they're going to pay attention to Mike Mullen and MikeMullen.net, of course, but it's worth a try. In fact, you can do this game. Go down to Office Depot, get a big old calendar, one of those big calendars with a lot of space under each date, a couple of pencils with erasers, because you'll need some erasing. And you start in January next year, and go to November, and you start plugging in all these races. Checking weather.com, checking markets, checking the temperatures, and checking the rainy season and all that. And you put together a schedule about 36, 38 races. It's not easy. We came up with one, put it on the web, MikeMullen.net. A few holes in it. We couldn't figure it out. Steve O'Donnell, the NASCAR guy who had to put it together himself for the sport, he says, whoa, there are a lot of things he'd like to have done, but almost in a box. The way things are done right now, TV dominates everything. The weather's the key factor. Actually, the fans are the key factor. Like the second race in Kansas. Is that good for the sport? Is that good for the fans? Might be good for business. With the casino coming out there. Dropping a race in Los Angeles. Is that good for the sport? I don't think so. Dropping a race in Atlanta. I know they don't get that big a crowd sometimes, but Atlanta's the 9th biggest market in the United States. Is dropping a race there good? Don't think so. Maybe we should be running on the other side of town at Road America, at Road Atlanta rather. Run one race south of town, one race north of town. Maybe that's the way to do it. Bracket the audience. We got to start thinking outside the box, starting with a clean sheet of paper. In fact, I'm thinking that we ought to open in January like we used to. We used to go out to Riverside. Let's go out to Phoenix now. Riverside's a shopping center or housing development or something. January, just before the Super Bowl, let's run a race in Phoenix. Nice warm weather. Everybody shakes the cobwebs off, gets wound up. New color schemes, new drivers. Everybody gets everything sorted out. Then come back 2 weeks later and do Daytona. And let's tighten up Daytona speed weeks. Gosh, we're down there forever and ever and ever. In fact, if you got a private plane, you can fly down and fly back like almost every day. I think some of those drivers were doing it. That didn't impress me too much. You go someplace, you run the package, and you go on to the next one. Another thing I'd like to try to do with this schedule, with your little Office Depot map, your Office Depot calendar, try to cut back from these 38 weekends we got to about 30, 32. When they had a 28 race to 30 race schedule, everything seemed to work fine. All the crews I talked to, they're flat worn out. Between the testing and all the travel, they have no home life. Need to change that. But I'd like to see, couldn't figure out how to do it. 3 races on, 1 race off. Go 3 straight weeks, then take a week off. Another thing I like to try to do, a summer shootout. June, July, early August, about 10 weeks. Throw in a couple of Wednesday night thunders, Thursday night thunder races. Martinsville under the lights, Thursday night, 1 day in and out. Hey, that'd work. We could put Rockingham back on the schedule too. 1 day in and out, Friday night, under the lights. Bring in some lights if they don't have lights. That's pretty cheap. Be a nice TV show. Close enough to home. Could do that at Richmond. Could do that at Bristol. Another thing I'd like to see tried, we all start out with every track gets 1 race. We got 23 tracks now with Kentucky. If we had Montreal, I'll get to that in a minute, that'd be 24. 1 race at each track, that's 24 races. That's half again as long as the IndyCar racing schedule. I think that'd be a good starting point. And you only get a second race if you're willing to be innovative. Okay? Maybe Daytona deserves a second race. Maybe Talladega. We can argue about some of those points, but let's start. Each track gets one race, and if you want a second race, you have to make a really good, convincing argument for it, and then we'll think about it. Another thing I'd like to do, change up the chase. 12 faces, 12 races. That's right. Add 2 more races to the chase. Make it start Labor Day weekend, either Atlanta or Darlington. I'd operate by alternating them, flip-flopping them each season. Darlington gets Labor Day one weekend, one year. Atlanta gets it the next. Night race, cool weather, opens the chase, 2 dramatic tracks. I tell you, if you can't race at Atlanta or Darlington and put on a good show, you never will. That'd be an exciting way to start it. And that would also make Bristol, the last weekend in August, the playoff cup chase. I think that'd be good. Nice, exciting racetrack. Throw in Indianapolis. Throw in some good tracks. But in California is what I do. And change up California to where it's good racing. There's a lot of things we could do. I'd put Montreal in August. I think Montreal's a good town. It should be a cup race. Fits right in. We got Sonoma, Montreal, Watkins Glen. One problem I had with Watkins Glen and Montreal when I was doing my little doodling, the weather. The weather's pretty bad. Not bad, just the possibility of rain. About the same any month you pick out of the whole season. So that might be an issue there. Still, I think Montreal would work right in the middle of downtown. Make that a cup race. Give NASCAR an international flavor. Really easy. I'd like to go back to Mexico City, but until they calm things down there, that's not going to work. We don't have a lot of places to work in March. March was the toughest month to try and figure out for the schedule. Late February, early March. But I think starting at Phoenix, starting off Labor Day at either Atlanta or Darlington for the chase, and ending at either Vegas or Homestead. I'd flip-flop those. One year you end at Vegas, next year you end at Homestead, vice versa the year after that. And the race before the final race, flip-flop that too. You go to Vegas one year, then Homestead for the finale. Next year you go to Homestead, and then Vegas for the finale. Think things differently. Think outside the box. You can't keep doing the same stuff and expecting different results. That's just my opinion. Mike Mulhern from MikeMulhern.net on the way to Michigan International Speedway.